Space Coconut.
Okay, so something I wanted to talk about with the Demogorgon stuff, in yesterday's video, but I mean I ran out of time, I got lazy, and I just kind of wanted to finish the video and go to bed. I was tired, I was done. The devs released some designer notes talking about the new status effects and the Bloodweb changes, which, guess what? The majority of us were right about what they were going to do. Undetectable and Oblivious. Undetectable is a killer status effect. It's basically when they go into stealth mode. It's the Wraith cloaking himself, it's the Ghost going into Night Shroud, it's the Killers using Insidious, and it's the Pig dropping into her stealth mode also. It doesn't really apply to Michael because it just naturally, the way his kit is, he just has a smaller terror radius. He's not really stealth per se, even though he kind of is, technically. And killers and powers that do take away the killer's things like that will give them the undetectable status effect. Hooray! This takes care of, most notably, Object of Obsession versus the Ghost. Takes care of that problem. At first, I was really worried about Oblivious, with survivors getting a notification saying, hey, you can't sense the killer, right? But the way they've implemented it, I think it's okay with the way they've implemented it and described how the power works. The example they gave was when a survivor is working on the portal to dismantle it, they become oblivious. So they're working on something, and if you think about the survivor themselves, they're focused on a task and they're not paying attention to anything around them. They're oblivious, which makes complete sense. They don't gain oblivious if the killer has undetectable. So it doesn't warn them about anything that the killer is doing. It's giving them a warning saying that they're susceptible. They're susceptible to a killer's attack while they perform this activity. It's the same thing as a killer or a survivor getting blindness when they go into the locker. They perform an action, and the consequence of that action is gaining a status effect. So it sounds good to me. I was worried at first, but it has everything to do with the survivor performing an action and nothing to do with a killer performing an action. So it's all right. Now, the more exciting part of this announcement was the details on the Bloodweb changes. So very simply, levels 1 to 39 are the same as they were before. Levels 40 to 49, you get 3 perks that pop up, and you have a chance to get 2 out of those 3, depending on, how the entity acts. For every level 50, 4 perks will appear, and the same thing. You can buy 2 perks before the entity grabs them. This is all going to be RNG. It's all going to be up to your strategy for doing this. And while I was at work when I found out about this, I did a little math. So, starting at the beginning, in order to max out 1 perk in the current system, you need to go through 3 webs to get those 3 that perk maxed out. It's RNG, you don't know which ones you're going to get, but we're just saying 1 max perk is 3 webs. A character will start with 3 level 1 perks. The total number of perks and their associated perk levels is 189 for the killer side. Minus the 3, the total number of Bloodwebs a killer player needs to go through to unlock every single perk on the killer and on that specific killer is 186. Levels 1 to 39 have no change, so that's 39 Bloodwebs, which brings the total remaining to 147. I'm going to worry about the blood point cost for levels 1 to 39, 40 to 49, and then the average for 50 when I can record how it looks on the Demogorgon when I'm dumping the blood points into it. So for now, we'll just ignore the cost of the average cost of the Bloodwebs. Now, 40 to 49, it's possible, but not guaranteed, to get 2 per web. So we're going to assume that you optimize yourself and are able to get 2 perk levels per Bloodweb. This means that you get 20 perk levels, which brings the remaining perk levels down to 127. Now, this means that in the normal game, as it is right now without the Bloodweb changes, you need to go through 127 level 50 Bloodwebs. So if it's possible to get 2 per web, that drops the total down to 64 blood webs. So the least possible number of blood webs in order to get all the perks maxed on a character or a killer without, prestige, without taking that into consideration, is 123 blood webs. And that's if you get 2 per web and you don't mess up, or you don't deliberately let the entity take more than, you don't let the entity stop you from getting 2. So this means between the current system and the future system, we save 63 blood webs, which is a 34% reduction in the total number of blood webs that we would have to go through. Using my personal average of 55,000 blood points per web, we're saving 3,465,000 blood points. But this is only what you're saving if you prioritize getting two perk levels per web. This will change completely depending on RNG and depending on if they change anything about the blood webs themselves. But this is what it would look like right now. So they reduced the grind by about 34%, but it's not a guaranteed reduction. It just depends on RNG and your choices of going through the blood web and playing the game against the entity. Which, all in all, honestly, I think a 34% reduction is pretty good. I don't think it's good enough to warrant a legacy cosmetic, but I mean, this is still really good. And it's going to make grinding out the rest of the perks pretty easy, especially for those of you who either just are like me, have your favorite characters maxed out and then just kind of dribble blood points into the other killers as the time allows. Because I'd like to put more points into Clown, Doctor. Yeah, I'd like to. There are some ideas that I have with the pig. There are some ideas that I'd like to run with, but I need to get the perks. So the grind was reduced by 34%, which, I mean, if my math is right, which is pretty good. And as long as they didn't tweak the blood web itself by implementing more higher costed rares and ultra rares. But I guess the alternative to that is we get more rares and ultra rares. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's very nice. I'm pretty happy with a 34% reduction. Be nice if it were guaranteed and we could do something about the extra add-ons and offerings that we don't use, but baby steps. This will be good for now, right? I was working on a project. Some of you who follow me on Twitter know by now what it is, and you saw a little snippet of it. I'm working on a Mori video, and I have all the Moris recorded, which I made several survivors unhappy, but I managed to record every Mori, so that's nice. I'm not going to script it or anything. I'm just going to kind of talk about each Mori and point out certain things and then just kind of rank them according to various things with the lengths, just rank them according to different things. How long they are, how cool they are, how old they are, just different things, and put it into a Mori tier list. I think since the PTB is coming out pretty soon, I'll hold off on releasing it until I can record the Demogorgons Mori, and then I'll release it after that, after I get that recorded. So this is something to look forward to. Kind of a structured video that's not structured. I'm just rambling about it, so that might be interesting. Right now, everybody's aboard the hype train for Stranger Things, so I'm not sure what else there is to talk about. People are going to be railing about the different perks. Maybe I can talk about those. The troublesome perks, the perks that I'm worried about the most on the Survivor side. That might be a good topic to talk about. I did have an idea for the perk study series, though. Today, I was looking at the killer perks, and I was just like, well, this one's kind of bad unless you do this, or unless you play this killer. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to add that to the perk study. So as I'm looking at these perks, I'll talk about what I don't like, what they ought to be, what they could do, and then I'll talk about the way that it can be used as it is and the killers that are best suited for it. So it'd be kind of like an all-around ranking for the perk individually, and then I'll have my opinion and my suggestion for which killers suit it the most. So I'm kind of excited about that. I was excited to have a new idea, actually, about a thing that I've been doing for a little bit. So look forward to those new perk studies, and I might actually do that with some perks that are already in the game. So if you would like to see a perk study for a specific perk, tell me about it in the comment section, and I'll start putting that together. They're not going to be scripted. I'm just going to ramble about it in my personal opinion, and no research will go into it, but I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fun. So that's it for today. I just thought I'd share those numbers because they're pretty exciting. I think this is a good change. Even though it's still up to chance and RNG, I think it's a good chance. The 34% max reduction is very good. So, with all of that out of the way, I'm going to get back to work. Until tomorrow, I'll see you in the fog.